Okay. Welcome again to another episode of the Non-Expert Guide to African Film and TV, where we're going to be discussing film content that we like that's coming out of the continent. With me, my name is Lola Okutami. I have a little bit of experience as a filmmaker. And to my left, right, you don't know, Zoom.
Somewhere on the screen.
Is Tolu Ibiyemi, who is also a film TV enthusiast, right?
Very much so. Yes, that is my thing. I am a hardcore watcher of film and cinema and television. I pretty much watch anything that will appear on screen, except for horror movies. I don't do horror movies. Anything slasher, I can't. I literally am one of those people who won't sleep at night if I watch a slasher movie. So anything apart from that, I'm good with. So yeah.
All right, that is Tolu Ibiyemi. And below us is Ibiyemi Oshinaike, another. I don't think he considers himself a film TV enthusiast, but I'll let you say something.
No, I consider myself just the average Joe TV watcher who likes to watch things and feel things.
All right, I like that. Okay, so we're gonna jump right in. Today we have two films out of Nigeria that we're going to be discussing. Yay. And we're going to be talking about The Delivery Boy by Adekunle No Dash Adejuyigbe. And we're going to be talking about Light in the Dark by Ekene Som Mekwenye. I hope I said his name right. But
you will soon be corrected.
All right, so these two films on Netflix, currently on Netflix. So we're going to jump right into The Delivery Boy. Let's start with that one. Let's talk about first the things that we loved. Ibiyemi, you want to start?
Okay, so things that I loved about that one. I think the storyline is certainly different. It wasn't the typical Nollywood storyline, I would say. Things I also liked about it, I think the characterization was actually quite interesting. So they used, or the main characters were not characters that, I think we talk about prostitutes a lot, or people that, sex workers a lot in Nigerian home videos, to be honest, but we never actually paint them in the lights that character was. So I liked that. And I haven't seen anything, to be fair, it probably is out there, but I haven't seen anything that has sort of majored on a terrorist character from within the Nigerian context. So I thought, okay, these are interesting characters in the movie. So I liked that, and it was interesting because it wasn't something that I expected, and the storyline, of course, was something that I expected as well because of the characters.
All right, Tolu.
So for me, that's pretty much the same thing. I really like that they went with a different direction. They made a lot of unexpected choices. Some of them were good, some of them were not so good. But I like that that the film was about trying something new. I don't know if you've watched this movie called Before Sunrise, or Before Sunset. Well, there are two movies, three, where it's a couple who meet for the first time and they spend like an entire night together. And I felt that this was that kind of film, but with a darker motif and darker theme. And I really enjoyed like this idea of, just one night of just being forced into this position, and how people from such different backgrounds like can become what they would end up becoming. So it was very interesting from that perspective.
Yeah, I really liked it. I actually saw it at a film festival a year or two ago in New York. And I just remember watching, and the whole audience loved it. I remember the filmmaker was there, and the Q&A, we had to leave the hall, right? And people were like, "No, can you wait?" We ended up going to the hallway, and they were still asking him questions, and the Q&A just went forever. People were just asking him questions and questions and questions. It was actually interesting. So yeah, it was, like you said, it was different. We've never seen Boko Haram, which is where I feel like it was kind of harking to. We've never seen that in film. I don't think I haven't. So.
I think it's usually a more nebulous Nigerian terrorist threat that we get. Usually not so, but this one felt more deliberate in what kind of terrorists there were. So yeah, it was pretty good. It was interesting from that perspective for me. Yeah.
And
I think
all
that's
the
interesting as well
languages.
because I think
No, go ahead, Ibiyemi.
I think what they did as well was they skipped the whole normal story of, okay, bad guy, the terrorists are always the bad guys, and you have to hate them from start to finish, and you know he's a bad guy immediately, and you're waiting for him to get caught, and then he gets caught, and everybody's like, whoa. They skipped that whole sort of normal routine and went straight to understanding a little bit more about the individual and their motivations and their background, helping you empathize with somebody that you would traditionally just see as the bad guy, which I thought was quite interesting. It was a whole leap, I think, from they made a whole leap. I think even in Western television, it's only, I think, in sort of the last couple of years or maybe the last 10 years or so, that they've really made the bad guys people that you actually want to win. And I think it's quite interesting that they jumped straight into that in the Nigerian movie.
Yeah, I like that. Like they humanize them, you know?
Yeah, completely.
Like Ibiyemi said, they're making the characters, the backstories for the bad guys more complicated, more complex, more like nobody's straight up. I mean, yes, there are a lot of people who are straight up bad guys, but very few people come to where they are by chance. I mean, there are lots of things that happen to a person to make them either be a good person or a bad person. And it's good to see that they at least give us some of that complication so that we're better able to empathize with maybe not the decision that's been made, but at least with what got them to that place in the first place.
Yeah. Oh, y'all are so smart. I love it. Tolu, you're always talking about.
I can't wait to jump into what we don't like. Just itching to get there.
Okay, but quickly, I loved language. Like I feel like we heard the three major languages. No, I don't know if we heard any Yoruba, but at least Hausa and Igbo.
Yes, we
did.
did.
I liked that. And I was just like, oh wow. So there's the guy who played the Malam, what was his name? Sadan? The guy who was, picking up kids and kind of radicalizing them, right? That actor, Jude Chukwuka, I know he speaks, I'm assuming he speaks Igbo. He speaks Yoruba fluently. And then to see that he speaks Hausa too, I was just like, oh my God, this is great. Anyway, that's just right.
No,
that's really good.
Yeah.
A lot of Nigerians, especially people who because of youth service may have ended up traveling to the north. I mean, you end up finding a lot of Nigerians can be multilingual. And I find that we don't explore that enough or even have that storytelling enough. So it's really, a person's ability to be able to pick up languages and, then utilize it in film. It's like being able to do a great English accent or a great German accent. Being able to do that is a skill. That's a really that we should be utilizing more in film.
Absolutely.
I'm just glad there was no Fune. As in, I'm tired of Fune.
I know.
Our Fune can weak somebody.
I know.
So I'm tired there was no Fune. I'm really glad there was no Fune.
I was glad to see a different side of Nigeria without the wigs, even though, the character does wear a wig, but, the way she takes it off, you can see it's like a work thing. Like it's almost a costume that she puts on and takes off. I was just like, I loved seeing just the level, just a different story, different kinds of people. I'm really tired of the wig flecking and the makeup, and I'm tired of it.
Oh my gosh.
Remind me to talk to you about eyelashes when we start talking about the next episode. Carry on.
I am with you. But one movie.
Calm down, Ibiyemi. Calm down.
Tolu, I know you're very you like to talk about lighting, right? And how did you feel like they used it in this film? It was used.
So there were some great points and some really annoying points. I liked the the number one thing that irritated me was the way they spotlighted this keke. I was like, anybody would it was so. It should have been hidden in the dark, and they spot it out of the corner of their eye because the way the light was shining, the fabric that was covering the keke didn't go all the way down to the ground. So if anybody you would see their legs. With that light shining so brightly on it.
Me, I didn't. I love the shot from inside the keke where they're both kind of like, and this red car. I thought that was a beautiful shot.
That was great, but the whole point is that you're not really hiding anybody under, like literally sitting under a light,
a bright spotlight. Like, look at me, we're over here.
Over here. I mean, any. Well, but anyways, that was really. I think also. And I know it's not. I think some of my complaints are more like issues to do with equipment availability, because I find that again a lot of night scenes in Nigeria tend to be very murky. They don't. I mean, the lighting there's not a real distinction between gradient of lights, and so either very murky or the lighting is kind of weird. It doesn't feel natural. It feels very artificial. So, but the what do you call it? Abortion hospital lighting, I really liked.
I know. I like that. I was actually like, okay, I like that. Was a nice touch. Yeah.
So, and then so those were the things that really stuck out to me. But yeah, I really like that because I felt like that felt like what Nigerian light is. It's bright, but it's very yellow, and it's those exposed bulbs that we have. Or those fluorescent exposed bulbs in the operating room. They made a distinction between the two rooms, and I think they did a really good job of that.
Okay. So what was in? I'm trying to see what else did I love. The subtitles were on point. The translation, I was like, who did it? Actually, I saw the name of the person who did it.
I think he took a lot of care with
the
subtitles.
Yes. Someone named Adedayo Kunu. I had to write the person's name down.
Ade what?
Ade. Okay.
Say what?
I'm not sure how to pronounce his name actually. Adedayo Kunu. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on.
Adedayo Kunu.
Adedayo Kunu.
Adedayo Kunu.
Okay, maybe that's
Adedayo Kunu.
Okay.
Sorry.
So let us not be the poor person's name. But anyway, whoever you are, Adedayo Kunu, your titles are great. Anyway, okay, moving on. Special effects, is that going to what we like or what wasn't working?
That moves into the second column. Her makeup was peeling quite a bit.
Yeah, the scar, right?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It was peeling off her temple, peeling off her cheek.
Probably that heat.
Yes, of course. You need like super glue to hold that thing down, because I don't know whether a vest of that size could have caused an explosion that big. I mean, to be able to explode and then like ricochet through. I mean, I don't know if you remember when the Arm Depot exploded
in Lagos, right?
Yeah, I mean, or even when that gas.
Yeah, that happened recently.
Yes, that just happened. You can see like how far those explosions really go, and the distance that this explosion with, especially for that vest, felt a little bit off to me. But
I thought that too. Yeah. I remember thinking, I was like, was the mosque that close to the abortion clinic? For him to feel it. But I get what you're saying. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's go into what didn't quite work for us. It looks like.
So I think the storyline was good. I think some of the details, we've westernized a lot of things. And maybe I'm just very sheltered and I don't know a lot of people that have guns in Nigeria. But I don't understand how the matron or the nurse or whoever that woman is that runs or that ran the underground sort of child, whatever that thing is, racket. Yeah. How is she so comfortable with a knife? I'm sorry, not with a knife, with a gun. I thought that was a bit like, calm down now. Immediately she was like, "Pew, come on." So that was a bit funny. I think that was the only thing that was. No, apart from that, I think there were a couple of things about the story as well that just didn't really gel. So I understand that she understood where he was coming from, and the target was where her brother was. But I don't know if I believe that not anyone, I don't know if I believe her that she will be that altruistic and go and blow herself up.
Mm.
And
Or maybe that was supposed to be the surprising thing and say, oh, I didn't see that. I don't know. But, it's just be like, y'all just met tonight. Like, calm down. It's not that deep.
So
Did she feel that helpless?
So yeah, I think the narrative they were trying to weave is that she's a long-term victim of child abuse. She ended up in prostitution, and she needed 5 million naira to save her brother who was at the hospital that was being bombed. Now, funnily enough, I know that hospital. That's the hospital my mom goes to. So I actually know that location.
Oh, I thought it was a fictional.
That's actually St. Luke's Hospital. It's a real hospital.
Oh.
So anyways, so it's, I don't know if those three things now gelled. I mean, did she connect enough with his trauma?
Yeah.
With, and again, then the other question is that it's not really altruistic, is it? She's exchanging her life for her brother's. She feels that and I didn't really get that she felt her life was so worthless that she would trade it. And they tried to make that point several times that she would do anything for her brother. She's really all about her brother. We didn't see this boy once. We didn't really get why her destiny is so tied to him. Okay, he's smart. We get it. But to me, there's this assumption that women tend to feel these things, and so we should just go along with that kind of reasoning, that women are more likely to be self-sacrificial, and even if she's lost that self-worth, but she's willing to sacrifice it for somebody else. So yeah, I don't know. I struggle with a lot with you're right, Ibiyemi, with that sort of, that threading the needle of her being so traumatized that she would be willing to take her own life, trade it for her brother's life, and then also trust. This is the very thing. She trusted him enough to actually do the right thing for her brother.
Yeah. Exactly.
Nigerians can do that.
I know. I thought that too. I was like, how do you know after you go and blow yourself up that this guy will actually go and take care of your brother? I don't know.
I must confess, and this is actually quite telling. Sorry, I interrupted you there, but this is actually quite telling. If it wasn't in Nigeria, I'd have believed it. If that makes sense.
I absolutely agree. So
I don't know. That feels really bad. But I think it's just because Nigeria is just a dog eat dog. I have to get my own, and I'm just kind of like, does this really happen? Although, having said that, so for me, one of the things I like about, and this is why I pointed out at the start that I like to feel things. I think sometimes art, it should imitate life, but I think sometimes art should suggest to life what should happen as well. So I quite like that. I quite like the fact that there must be one person in 180 million people who would do that, to be honest. So why don't we just glorify that person? Who knows? A seed might be sown in somebody's heart. So that's the way I chose to see it, which is why I think it's completely forgivable. But then it did make me question, like, Niger, which side? I'm gonna go hard.
I think I would have questioned it regardless. Any nationality, I would have been like, "Are you sure? How do you know after you make this huge sacrifice that somebody else, this other person, will keep up their end of the deal?"
So, okay, this is part of what I've been reading about when they've been discussing this pandemic in South Korea and their success with being able to get things done as a country. Same thing with Europe, same thing with the lack of the same thing in America. It's actually interpersonal trust within a culture. And Nigeria and the US, I think, have very low interpersonal trust. Especially like with the US right now, you're seeing that clash between races. But in Nigeria, we tend to trust people in our tribe more than we trust other Nigerians. So there's a low interpersonal trust. And I think that's why we were skeptical and we are more likely to believe it. If it was a couple of Americans or if it was a couple of like Swedish human beings, we I don't know, almost because of all the content we watch about from other cultures or from other countries, we kind of get an idea of how they work together. But in Nigeria, we experience each other every day. And to be honest with you, I'm very skeptical about the motivations of Nigerian. I'm so sorry. And it's something that I struggle with a lot because my instinct is actually the opposite. I tend to want to trust people, but Nigeria teaches you a very harsh lesson about all of that rubbish.
Yeah.
So it's not a wrong. It's not. I don't think it's a bad instinct for any of us to have when it comes to like really understanding or questioning that when we saw it.
Okay. How about the actors? Actually, just to completely change. What did you think? I liked the main character. The actor's name, I believe, is Jamil Ibrahim. I thought he was very convincing.
I liked all of them.
Yeah, right.
I liked all of them.
I know.
I thought they committed to their craft. I thought it felt like they did their homework. I liked the chemistry between the two main characters. Yeah, I was convinced by their acting. I liked all of them.
Tolu doesn't seem to share our.
I liked her. I liked the matron. I thought he was a little bit stone faced, and not because I thought there were moments of emotion that I should have felt a little bit more from him, but I didn't. But then again, he's again supposed to be somebody who's traumatized and stoic. So I think I think his character could get away with that, but I don't see him doing like going out and doing other roles that would allow him to be broader. I don't know.
You think?
I just think like to be honest, I was looking at his eyes a lot of the time, and I just didn't get anything. I got a lot from her. I think she did a great job, but from him, not so much.
I liked him.
We can tell.
But I think the last few scenes when he woke up it was okay. Again, when he opened his eyes when he woke up, I was just like, dude, you're not waking up.
Give us something.
I can see what you're saying. Yes. Yeah. But that's the. I just felt like he had been kind of stripped of all emotion. Like he was just like a
and humanity.
Yeah. And he was just like, Anyway, quickly moving on. How did you feel?
Sorry, just one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
One thing.
What did you guys think about his motivation for wanting to kill? The radical.
Yeah, the radical.
Do you question it? Do you question his motivation?
Do I question its existence? No.
No. But the validity.
Did I think it was necessary? That's an interesting question. Again, to me, it was like, and we'll talk about this more in the next movie. But I don't know whether it was sometimes it was too much of another layer. And again, going back to my psychology background, there's internal motivations and external motivations. And Nigerians tend to like external motivations for things, for behavior. So you're not motivated by your choices, but by things happening to you.
Yeah.
So that's where I struggled because, again, same thing about her. Her motivations were external as well. And I don't know. I had an issue with that.
Do you think his motivations were external or internal?
Well, external in the sense that, he was not motivated by, he wasn't just motivated by the choice to save people, but more about his antipathy towards the Malam. So I struggle with that. I don't know whether it was just my reading of it or, my perception, but I didn't know whether it was really motivated to save people as opposed to
I thought it was to save people. I mean, that's kind of what I got.
Oh, that's interesting. I think it's the complete opposite. I think he was stripped of his humanity and he'd held on to that rage for so long. And he was he just wanted to kill the people that had done him wrong and stop them from doing it to other people.
Exactly, stop them from doing it.
Well, no. Maybe when he was having that conversation with the owner of the orphanage, I kind of got that, why are you doing this to people? But, for him to go through all of that, it felt like he had that internal rage and the pain that he was going through from, the abuse from his childhood and all of that. So I thought that was his motivation, to be honest.
Okay.
That's interesting that we all see it
different
ways.
Well, that to me is why it's an interesting movie.
Exactly. No, definitely. He did do the work in terms of trying to make it more complex, you know, and not just on the surface kind of story,
Yeah.
you know. So definitely, you know.
I guess when you think about it, so what's he going to do if he tries to think outside the movie? So what will he do next? I can't imagine what he'll do next.
I don't know either.
Does
Well,
that make sense?
you've got to do something to that uncle. But anyway, I don't want to include any spoilers.
Paper that he kept with the first address was what he used as a child after the first time he met.
I know. Calm down. That paper made from Holy Ghost material or what? That paper lasted, dude.
No.
Oh, I didn't get that. Oh.
Could he not have written it on another paper? Come on, calm down, people. Or typed it on his phone or something.
Yeah, there were no smartphones in this film. If I feel
like which is good. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
That to me was actually made sense because when you look at all the small lamps, they all have these
small
very
things. Exactly. So, yeah. That was But the pidgin English, I don't know. I wasn't sold. I was like, couldn't they have just spoken in English? I don't know. I wasn't feeling the character, the sex worker. I don't know. It just felt like people who speak good English who are now trying to dumb their English down. It sounded like that to me.
Yeah. I agree.
So I wasn't completely.
The accent was too posh.
Yeah, exactly. The pidgin was too posh.
But having said that, though,
yeah,
you will find that people from different parts of Nigeria just automatically understand. For us to communicate, it's pidgin. So you find but I'm not a good judge of pidgin English, to be honest. So
I mean, I'm not. I don't speak it very well either. But I just felt like I don't know. I mean, maybe she's more educated than, I guess maybe she was, and so as a result, but that was her way. So she didn't speak it very well, but that was the way to communicate with this guy. So I get that, I guess. But okay. Any last words before we move on to A Light in the Dark? I'm trying to look at my notes. Special effects. Did we talk about that?
Yes.
Fight scenes. How did you feel about the fight scenes?
I thought it was good. Yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And at first I didn't really understand, because especially at the very first one, I'm like, kill this guy. I don't get, what are you waiting for?
Exactly.
But then when I understood the background and his motivations and the fact that the guy was also a victim, I really like that. I really, and then the second fight scene as well also explained away any sort of boy you made type thing. So I get that.
But I think a film has done its job if we can talk about it like this, because there's some films where you're just like, I don't like it, or I like it, and you can't really talk about the things that you know.
And you're segueing perfectly into our next movie.
No, I loved A Light in the Dark. Was it a little? Could they have been short? Oh! Wait, one more thing about the delivery boy. It was short.
Yes, 1 hour.
1 hour.
It was it was a short film.
Yes, it was a short film. No extra.
Because there was no need.
Yeah.
There was no need for any extra.
Okay. All right.
This is still a nice segue into career.
Okay. All right. Please, Elijah, that please be kind, be nice. I love it.
You did?
Lola? Yeah, people. Well, okay.
No. Since you loved it, please tell us.
Well, okay. So first of all, I just felt like you really saw the internal struggle of a couple. It was a slow burn kind of film, right?
Oh.
It was too long. I mean, there were some scenes that I was like, why was that necessary? But first, we're talking about the things that we like, right? The way he uses lighting, the way he directs, the angles. Sometimes somebody said on Facebook, like, I beg, it was overdue sometimes. And I can agree to some extent. But I just really like that we saw this internal struggle play out. And it was also the little things, like, the parents, there's this big, massive thing between them. And then the little girl comes in and it's like, can I still go to Rita's house? Like kids just gloriously
unaware.
And then when at some point where Rita is eating chin chin, we just don't see those little things that are an everyday part of our lives as Nigerians. So anyway, okay. What did you like first? Tolu?
So I think she's talking to you.
Oh, I love that the movie finally ended.
Oh my God.
No, I'm being facetious. So I loved a realness of some of the characters. Some of the things that I would say that I love the realness of what he was trying to achieve. Especially with some of the characterizations with the mother-in-law, with the mother. When I say this is like maybe 1% or 2%, but there were certain moments that I felt that I know a lot of people experience, and I've heard that people experience, so I can't deny that that's a reality. I have some critiques that I would like to go on. So please, Ibiyemi, what did you like about this movie?
Right. Okay. What I think they did the subject of rape. I like the fact that they touched on that, or that it was centered around that.
Okay, moving on.
I'm not even joking.
Okay. All right. Okay, so let's talk about what didn't work for us then. What didn't work?
So here's the thing. So coming from the point of what I actually liked, they first of all started with this tribal thing. Oh, it's going to be a war between the two tribes and inter-tribal relationship. And then it was going to be dealing with the difficulty of dealing with a difficult in-law. And then it had a little thing about money or no money. And then infertility, and then betrayal, and it just had too much. It had too much, and none of it, apart from none of it went anywhere. Honestly, I'm really sorry. None of it went anywhere. So the whole
many threads dropped.
Exactly. So East and West. Okay, suddenly Jackie Silver's character was just like, oh, he's a nice guy. After 11 years, suddenly he's a nice guy.
I know,
nothing happened to change her mind. His own mother just dropped off the face of the earth. We just never saw her again. There was the random girlfriend who was there for some bits.
I didn't understand that part.
And then she came, and then I want a baby, and then she was at the door locking his door or something. I don't know. So I think the only part of the story that I think went well, the two parts that kind of went long enough for me to understand a little bit was the betrayal of the woman, that her friend, and the rape. But everything else, and if it's just those two things, it didn't have to be that long. So it started off with this might be like a Western thing, but why is a non-Yoruba person playing a Yoruba part? I think it just felt you could have just keep it simple. Just that's number one.
Agreed.
And
there
then number
now.
two.
I don't agree. Why not? It's because you know her, though. It's because you know that she's not Yoruba.
But it didn't add anything to it. The fact that she was Yoruba did not add anything to it. She could have been anything else.
Yeah.
There was nothing Yoruba. There was nothing that celebrated the Yoruba culture or her Yoruba-ness.
That's true.
So why was she Yoruba? There was no need for it to be Yoruba. And then the other people as well, the Amina. My wife said something that I wrote down. She was like, she's a northerner that grew up in Jamaica. Because of her accent, was like, there was no need. Just make her Urubo, whatever it is that she is, that she can have her. That didn't make any sense. So there were lots of things.
Yeah, I totally agree. There were many stories, and I was just like, why were those all necessary? It could just have been a couple that had to deal with the rape. Why did we have to see
the number of scenes?
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree with you there. Tolu, were you gonna say something?
So all of this to me comes down to like the internal versus external motivations. The betrayal storyline was absolutely not necessary in any way, shape, or form. I'm very annoyed that it happened. I mean, because again, you're looking. It's easier to have again a storyline that something happened to you and you know why it happened, so it's easier to accept. If it was just I've had this happen to a good friend of mine. She was doing some work and it just happened. She was gang raped. I mean, she was volunteering somewhere and she was gang raped and she had to go home.
Oh my
It wasn't
God.
like, it wasn't jealousy, it wasn't whatever. It was just an occurrence that happens and she had to deal with it. Now, when you look at that, you know, it's life happens, stuff happens that you don't expect, and there's no external motivation for it. There's no somebody's jealous and so she's trying to do you in, kind of. There's no need for that. The core story is a difficult one to tackle. And I think they lost the ability to deal with it because they were dealing with the police officer trying to track down something. And then the police officer PR thing was just very annoying to me, because if I could find a police officer that could speak like that man, he would be my dinner guest every day.
I know. I actually like that. I like that guy. But I was like, he's not your typical Nigerian police officer.
Aspirational.
That's true.
Give them something to work towards. That's what it is.
Suggesting to life, you know, like you said.
Exactly.
But, you know, so there was so much that annoyed me. The meandering stories, it just wasn't very well knit together. I just think it lost its ability to impact by just doing all sorts of...
Doing too much.
Yeah, doing too much.
Okay, let me. I would say one thing that I liked. The guy said everything that I would say if I was in his shoes. Like he was frustrated, but he was also empathetic. He was annoyed, but he really forced himself to be true to her, and he did his best. And he was like, "You're not the only one now." And the way he even said those things, I felt for him. I was annoyed at the female character, but I don't know if I was annoyed because, you know, her choice of words and everything just felt a little bit scripted, or I was annoyed the way a man would be annoyed if a woman did that. You know, so I'm not sure what it was, but I think I got them as a couple. I liked them as a couple.
I did.
I like them as a couple. I think one of the things I don't like is the way a lot of all these Western things just creep into our culture, and was it your body they did something? I'm not really sure if that's how a Nigerian woman would express herself. I don't know. I've never been in those shoes. I don't know. There's just something stilted about it. But I was convinced by their relationship. I liked their relationship. I was rooting for them. So therefore, I wish they had just stuck to them as a couple and dealt with their issues around the rape. That would have been excellent.
Yeah. No, I agree there. Now, also, just going off of what you said, I really like that. Because usually I've found that, well, at least in the past, when Nollywood tackles rape, it's always from a point of, then the man doesn't want anything to do with her, and then she has to be begging him, you know, and then it becomes all this thing of appeasing the man, and you're just like, did the rape happen to you? You know? So I like this angle, the way they treated it in this film. Although I still feel like Nigerian male directors sometimes handle rape like, I don't know how to say, like it's almost like it almost feels like it's worse for the husband or the quote unquote partner of the woman than it is for the woman, you know, where I'm just like, it's not about him, you know? So this, I think they tried to at least get away from that quite a bit. But I agree with you. I like the way he reacted. I like them as a couple. And yes, if all those extraneous things had been removed, it would have been a solid marriage story. Is that film? Yeah, kind of film, you know?
So to me, that's one of the other things I struggled with, that he was perfect, right? And that's not what happens in real life. I mean, people don't react perfectly too. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a lot of, you know, I don't know. The women were very problematic in this movie, just as a point. Every single woman, including her mother, who was very supportive, she was also very problematic. The so-called best friend was the issue. The other character I really liked was the doctor. The doctor was fine. But I sincerely disliked how this movie ended. And I'm very annoyed by it. Because they had those are the kinds of things that if it happened in real life, it would actually have been a point of struggle. And the way they just, we spent 2 minutes thinking about it and The end. And I was so annoyed. So annoyed.
I hear you on that. I was just like, yeah. I don't know. I felt like that should have been, I think that part should have gotten more time, more screen time, and cut out some of the other things, you know? And really talk about how do you jump to this? This is a huge leap to decide to accept this, you know? Yeah, I felt like that was kind of rushed. And you're right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go on, sorry.
No, go on. Because I was gonna go to something else, but go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that you're right. I think they could have built up to that point, and they could have spent a lot of time during the actual movie to build up to the point where they actually made it. I thought it was a good decision. I thought it was quite, it was a laudable thing. But you're right, it was a big leap. The other thing that I really liked actually was I loved her reaction when she thought he was cheating on her. I love that scene at the sink. Where Joke Silva she was washing the plates and she's like, let me wash. And I love it. I felt like it was a natural way for her to come out to her mother to say, this is what happened to me. Because at that point, she knew that, okay, fine, I know I've lost a lot, but actually I'm losing a whole lot more now. And now I'm helpless. And this is the only person here. And I just feel like I need to tell her. So I like the fact that she broke down and said, I pushed him away. Now, we know, obviously, it's a lot more complex than that. But the fact that she articulated that, I think, was something that, you know, for me, it endeared me to her character. And if it's now saying it out loud sounds as if I'm saying, hey, now at least it's your fault. No, not really. That's not where I'm going. But I think it's a truthful moment. It was a moment where she actually just owned up to something, but also a vulnerable moment where she opened up to her mom. I also like the fact that her mom gave her the wrong advice, which was keep it to yourself. But actually, that's probably what, you know, the mothers would do.
Yeah, exactly.
So that scene for me, I really like that scene. That scene at the sink, as I call it.
I know. I really liked it too. I agree with you. Now, the other mother-in-law, I felt it was exaggerated. Yeah, I mean, I felt like it could have been played differently. I thought it was a little too in your face, the hate. I mean, somebody's eyeing like that and you proceeded to go and enter that family. Me, I don't know about that though, you know?
As in, and then wake up in the morning and start sweeping. That one, please, that's like 20 years ago home video now. Calm down. No, we don't live like that anymore. Sorry.
Honestly, and it's especially because she's supposed to be a smart working woman. It just didn't gel.
No.
So back to that sink scene, I did not like it.
Oh.
Right, okay, bye. We're falling out now. That's it.
No, because she wasn't crying. Like I could see, like she was acting in that scene, and I was just like, there was this something like
I was actually like, wow, girl. I was like, okay, Brita.
I was too far from the screen, and my eyes are bad. But I can't see one tear fall from that eye, and I just like.
It was her eyelashes caught the tears.
We have to talk about eyelashes, but yeah.
And the makeup. But let me just finish. That scene to me was I was so annoyed again. And it's just because it was supposed to be emotional. You're supposed to connect. And I was like, maybe they've done this scene a couple of times and she's run out of tears, because those kinds of scenes can be very heavy and very difficult to do if you're supposed to dip into that well of emotion. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll excuse it, but I just didn't. And like Ibiyemi said, the turning point for her and her relationship was fine, but I also felt, which is one of the dangers of this kinds of movies, and I think I'm that there's this sort of thing that you don't have to see the mental health per se. You can just get over this thing. Because if you're raped, you just need to get over it. You can get over it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a very dangerous message to sort of like have go like run, because this, especially because it was very traumatic. I mean, she's dealing with the betrayal of a friend. You know, she's dealing with, you know, sexual assault. She's dealing with the consequences of that. I mean, there's no mention about how this thing affected her work. I mean, which is why the secondary story was just so unnecessary, because there was so much to explore. And I think also this shows that when you do this kind of thing, you actually have to research the issue you're studying or you're trying to explore. Because if you speak to women who have, you know, gone through this issue, Nigerian women, it's not the same as a Western experience.
No.
Because our societies are built completely differently. And when we talk to women about these things, how their life may go off the rails and they don't have a safety net. But again, this is somebody who's now a upper middle class woman, and so I mean, I don't know. I just felt that there were so many issues that didn't like really come together. I just felt very much like a man's fantasy of what a good movie on rape would be about.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with you there. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I liked a lot that the director made in terms of the acting, in terms of the casting, in terms of the angles. But yeah, on the story, I totally agree with you.
And
it was too deep an issue.
Yeah.
Research, like you said, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So I think it was too deep an issue. It was for me, it's one of the things I would call lazy writing. Well, they just added too many things. And like you said, if you've done the research and you've actually spoken to the people and you not just speak to them on the surface, but done the research and collected data and maybe attended some, some focus groups if they existed or something. I think they would have totally not gone in the direction of all the other subplots. I think that I've been like, oh, what friend? Please leave that one. Let's talk about this.
There were
so many. You're right. There were other parts of her life that they never explored on how that rape would have affected. If she was indeed like a high flying banker, how did that affect her at work? That sort of thing. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times it all boils down to the script, and we just don't have enough time to develop scripts because people want things. Because I mean, really, if I have a story idea right now, it might take me. I mean, it could be shorter, but it might take me like 2 years to really put in the work. But Nollywood needs like if I'm doing something for Netflix, for example, and they say, oh hey, we want content this year, so people just don't have the time or the money. But it's not an excuse. I think we're learning how to make films better, but our storytelling is still needs some work. That's what I think. But it's hard to make a movie. So hey, I give props to people who are able to complete a project, that can even spur conversation,
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know much about making movies, but I think from what I've heard, sometimes they cut out so many scenes and plots and all of that, and they would have spent a lot of time and money developing those scenes and plots and what have you, but they decide it doesn't quite fit. And I feel like if they'd done that with this, I mean, easily they could have taken away 20, 30 minutes worth.
Yeah.
Maybe not 20, 30, but at least like 15 minutes. Yeah. Like, off the top of my head, I can tell you 5 scenes. I'm like, huh?
Oh, yeah. Why? Like the scene where the guy, the robber, right, the lead guy who's collecting debts or whatever, where he goes to talk to some girl. Like there's no dialogue in this scene, right?
Yeah.
And then she kind of shuns him. What was the point of that? And we wasted minutes on that. I'm just like, we don't even really. I don't know that we care about him so much to see his own pain and his. Who cares if women are saying no to him?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care, So anyway, yeah.
Oh, I now get why that whole scene happened. Like I was just, okay.
Why did it happen? Because I don't get it.
There's this conversation with Halima, whatever her name is, the neighbor, the next door neighbor.
Yeah.
Where he said, "Look down on us,"
making you feel small. Yeah.
Yes, so that now makes sense. That's the way they were trying to, again, completely unnecessary. He could have just have been bad guy number 1.
Yeah.
Period. Period.
We didn't need that all the conversation.
We didn't. But well, thank you so much. I think this was great. Let me look at my notes and just see other things that I feel like kids are getting better. Nigerian kid actors are just getting better and better. I love the little boy. With his video camera. I like as well.
That was contrived, but he was good. The kid was good.
The kid was good.
And the daughter was good too. Both kids were very good.
Yeah, both kids were very good. So I just remember Nollywood of the 90s and the children actors, you just be like, okay. You people did not find it. You just took the director's daughter, pretty much.
Exactly. Go and read your book. Someone and translate it. This is not for you.
I just feel like things are getting better. Things are definitely getting better. So
the lighting was poor.
Things are getting better. However, the lighting though.
Like I want a
That's what they did with lighting though. Like the windows and the nighttime. I mean, a lot of it, some of it I felt like it was too obvious, but I don't know.
I agree with you that he tried on some of the angles, but I could also see that some of them were so they didn't help the scene. I think you do that angle for the film. I know you know this, but film work is really hard.
It is hard. It is hard.
I mean, you're not just telling stories with people on the screen. You're telling it with the lighting. You're telling it with the staging. You're telling it with the clothing.
Yep.
And makeup. Her makeup was so good.
It was.
Throughout, I was like, this woman's eyeshadow is awesome. No matter what emotional stage she's in.
I know. The eyelashes, Ibiyemi. I have a boss who used to say, she used to this was one of her first things that she would say to the makeup person when we're gonna start a project. She's like, I don't want to see any eyelashes that round the corner before the owner.
But why?
Why?
Was there any need for
it?
it?
These eyelashes, like seriously? Yeah.
There's no need now. There's no need.
Yeah, we
Let's not do this to ourselves.
Yeah. Why? We need to get a little more.
To me, and this is very annoying, but there is no gradient of makeup in Nigeria.
Is it that beam?
Full, or
Is it that beam? Or no?
Straight up party, 24-hour last campaign mask.
Yeah. We
there's no work makeup, going out for lunch makeup. That's great. Everybody does full face all the time. In movies, let me just put that. That's a caveat. In movies, so I get very annoyed by that. And then they now just put water under the mascara once, so that she cried, and then her hair is messed up, so that she's not taking care of herself. But her face, her beats,
it's some point.
Yeah, we definitely need to work on that. Yeah. And that was why for my film, I just remember saying, first of all, this was set in the 90s, lecturers and lecturers' children. I was like, I do not want to see an eyelash. Non-powder. And I think we actually might have even tried to use white powder, because that's what people were using at the time.
Yep.
Like an eye pencil, and that's it. I don't want to see face beats, I mean, come on. We're supposed to be in the middle of the Southwest in a small university town. Please. No face. But yeah, definitely things we can work on.
I'm just tired, honestly.
But we all have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad that we're having these conversations, because it's not just about saying this is bad or this is good, but just really exploring what worked, what didn't work, and hopefully, that we continue to get better. All right, people. Hopefully, I think we will. I think we are. I think so. So
yeah, I think we are.
Yeah, I think so too.
I want to see what this new age brings. This new age of 2020 post-COVID.
No. Yeah.
Because now people have had time to sit down and create, and they don't have Nollywood was shut down to like everywhere else.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. Yep.
If they're anything like me, they haven't created anything.
I know, right?
So I had a long list of things I wanted to do as well. I haven't done gang.
I know.
12 weeks.
Okay, so hold on that thought. We're gonna wrap up. I'm gonna just stop recording so that we can have a conversation. So people, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.